Robert Wasmond. 15 HRS. A repost of an article I wrote. It is still relevant. So, just a quick recap, objectively, police are being trained to fear every interaction with a citizen, regardless of their innocence or guilt, on the false premise that their job is one of the most dangerous profession that an individual can have. They are also being trained, for the lack of a better term, to steal from the average American. They are being trained with immoral instructions on how to profile. This information alone leads to even more questions about why and how this is happening. Especially since it is safer to be an officer now than ever before since the 1900s. Grammar, Logic, and Rhetoric of Police Brutality. Written by Robert Wasmond. Category, article op-ed published, Friday, April 10, 2015, 1644 hits, 1993. Police. Police brutality. Trivium. Police accountability. Cops. Leo. COPBLOCK writes. In this article of police brutality, we will be using the trivium method of thinking, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, to address a very real problem with law enforcement officers, LEOs. Grammar is discovering and ordering facts of reality to comprise basic, systematic knowledge. Logic is to develop the faculty of reasoning in establishing valid, non-contradictory understanding of the facts. Rhetoric is applying knowledge and understanding expressively to comprise wisdom or, in other words, it is systematically usable knowledge and understanding. Part 1, Grammar. Most Americans cannot deny the rise in police brutality and killings over recent years. We can all cite multiple instances of brutality and murder cases that span throughout our lives. It is a hot-button topic that is highly contested by both sides because they have legitimate emotional investments. Those who support LEOs, whether they are right or wrong, have been helped, saved, or have had family members who are LEOs. Those experiences involving LEOs, or having family members in those ranks, will always side on the LEO's side when their safety is concerned. Wouldn't you want them to be safe? One of my favorite family members is a cop. I don't want him to die, but that doesn't stop me from trying to talk him out of the job. We all have an innate desire to have security for ourselves and for those we love. Those of us who are upset with corrupt LEOs and their practices have experiences rooting in reality as those who support all LEOs. We have had personal harassment, friends and loved ones who are beaten and arrested on victimless trumped-up charges, and even been a part of families of unarmed human beings, who are not a threat, but still murdered at the hands of an officer that would later be found to have acted within police department procedure. No one in their right mind could argue that these victims don't deserve justice. We want to take a moment to say that we do not hate cops. We understand the need for policing agencies. Even in an anarchist society, communities and individuals would be free to hire people with the purpose of ensuring the non-aggression principle, NAP, is not violated. We hate actions of individuals that violate human rights, and we are against monopolies of force. We will not be pulled into collectivizing an entire group of people because of their costumes, or better known term, uniforms. With that said, there are a myriad of statistical, philosophical, and practical reasons to be incredibly angry with the police system and most of those in it. We have become disenfranchised by those who claim to be our protectors. The grammar of the situation is tricky. There is no unbiased complete data on police brutality due to self-governing and voluntary reporting, which is a direct conflict of interest. According to FBI Director James Comey, not long after riots broke out in Ferguson late last summer, I asked my staff to tell me how many people shot by police were African American in this country. I wanted to see trends. I wanted to see information. They couldn't give it to me, and it wasn't their fault. Demographic data regarding officer-involved shootings is not consistently reported to us through our Uniform Crime Reporting Program. Because reporting is voluntary, our data is incomplete and therefore, in the aggregate, unreliable. We question every statement from a person of power. We looked into Mr. Comey's claim and he is correct. The FBI does publish a report for justifiable homicides by police, but the information for said report is again, all voluntary. In the words of James Comey, he said he didn't know whether the Ferguson police shot one person a week, one a year, or one a century, and that in the absence of good data. D. Brian Burghart, the editor and publisher of the Reno News and Review, has been trying to keep record of every police shooting for the past several years and had this to say about the lack of data. Don't you find it spooky? This is information, this is the government's job, Burghart said. One of the government's major jobs is to protect us. How can it protect us if it doesn't know what the best practices are? If it doesn't know if one local department is killing people at a higher rate than others? When it can't make decisions based on real numbers to come up with best practices? That to me is an abdication of responsibilities. Now we don't necessarily agree with his obvious statism, at the federal level, but he does raise a good point. Without proper data, how can we come to any sort of conclusion? To put the final nail in the coffin of the current state of the data about police brutality, Jim Fisher, a former FBI agent and criminal justice professor, has compiled the most complete data on the subject thus far, had this to say. I was rather surprised to find there are no statistics, Fisher said. The answer to me is pretty obvious, the government just doesn't want us to know how many people are shot by the police every year. Unfortunately, the lack of data will not help us reach the logic of the problem. So, what data do we have that could help us understand the why? Training. One of the very first things a new recruit will be taught is what is commonly referred to as the first rule of law enforcement. It was popularized in the movie, The Untouchables. The rule is basic: make sure that you go home at the end of the day and always be on guard because complacency kills. Recruits will be shown videos of cops being beaten or killed for the sole purpose of scaring them into the incredibly flawed logic of better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6 with every single interaction they have regardless of the individual. Think about that for a moment. According to that logical fallacy, in the context of their training, it is better to murder an innocent person than to chance the risk of being murdered by a criminal. Is it really? It's better to be arrested, tried, convicted, torn from your family, which you can no longer support, and have your children live with the fact their parent is in jail for murder, than to die a hero? Neither is desired or optimal, but either way you are not going to be there for your loved ones, and as a bonus you killed an innocent person. Immoral training goes further than that. At continuing education seminars around the country, civil forfeiture experts are not only encouraging LEOs to use the practice but offering advice on the best property to seize. In fact, at a conference in Santa Fe, a police officer took the opportunity to belittle forfeiture's potential impact on the guiltless by attacking the entire concept of an innocent owner, someone who has no knowledge his property is being used to commit a crime. Consider a man arrested for soliciting a prostitute while driving his wife's car. In seizing the car, police are, in effect, punishing the innocent betrayed wife. This is not a hypothetical situation but an actual Supreme Court case. As many as 4 out of every 5 seized vehicles are driven by somebody other than the owner. A statutory innocent owner defense is often the only way to win back the car, or home, in some cases. Furthermore, in a firearms and training simulator, FATS, which police use to train for the use of force, is designed to teach the officer to kill or die. In an interview with the Free Thought Project, whistleblower cop Alex Salazar gives important insight into this training when he explains. These scenarios are designed to make any person fail and to cause them to believe there are no other options. He had no taser, baton, or any other less than lethal weapons. What about kicking the big guy in the nuts, waiting for backup, or tasering him? The profession of law enforcement is difficult at times, but the excessive brainwashing on a daily basis taking place, that you may die, is too extreme and gives many the belief it is okay to use deadly force. In many of these situations, Tamir Rice or Andy Lopez comes to mind. These officers just wanted to plain shoot and kill. Salazar went on to say, it's a brainwashing mechanism to get you over to their side, to start thinking about killing. In what they call the fat simulator, you are automatically designed to die. Yes, it's a game and useful for training. But, also, it has nothing to do with training. Every recruit, I don't care if they're an ex-badass Navy SEAL, everyone dies. According to the factual data about police training, our peace officers are being trained to fear you, to take your most expensive property, and if you resist, to murder you, justifiably of course. Some of you might be saying to yourselves, but, being a cop is dangerous and they should be trained to stay safe. You will get no argument from us about staying safe. Everyone has the right to self-defense, but dangerous? We'll agree Leos can get into some pretty dangerous situations, but how dangerous is it? Well, in 2013 the garbage industry there were 327 on-the-job deaths. How many Leos lost their lives? 97. So being a cop in 2013 was less dangerous than throwing garbage? Here is a list of the 10 deadliest jobs, deaths per 100,000, as of 2013, 1. Logging workers, 128.82. Fishers and related fishing workers, 117.3. Aircraft pilot and flight engineers, 53.44. Roofers, 40.55. Structural iron and steel workers, 37.6. Refuse and recyclable material collectors, 27.17. Electrical power line installers and repairers, 23.8. Drivers/sales workers and truck drivers, 22.19. Farmers, ranchers, and other agricultural managers, 21.310. Construction laborers, 17.4. And where do Leos fall? In 2013, out of approximately 900,000 sworn officers, 97 died from a job-related injury. That's about 11.1 per 100,000, or a rate of 0.01%. Bear in mind not all officer fatalities are homicides. Out of the 100 deaths in 2013, 31 were shot, 11 were struck by a vehicle, 2 were stabbed, and 1 died in a bomb-related incident. Other causes of death were, aircraft accident, 1, automobile accident, 28, motorcycle accident, 4, falling, 6, drowning, 2, electrocution, 1, and job-related illness, 13. Far from justifying current levels of police brutality. Officer fatalities. The dangers of being a police officer has been on a steady decline for decades. The last thing we would like to bring up about training is profiling. We're all aware of racial profiling of minorities, but today we have illogical profiling of Muslims. We are not against profiling as a science. Profiling techniques like micro-expression training, body language, and other psychological means of identifying suspects. Crimes must happen first before a profile can be created, which is the opposite of how Leos are trained. As an example, for 16 years, Mad Bomber George Metesky eluded New York City police. Metesky planted more than 30 small bombs around the city between 1940 and 1956, hitting movie theaters, phone booths, and other public areas. In 1956, the frustrated investigators asked psychiatrist James Brussell, New York State's Assistant Commissioner of Mental Hygiene, to study crime scene photos and notes from the bomber. Brussell came up with a detailed description of the suspect. He would be unmarried, foreign, self-educated, in his 50s, living in Connecticut, paranoid, and with a vendetta against Con Edison. The first bomb had targeted the power company's 67th Street headquarters. While some of Brussels' predictions were simply common sense, others were based on psychological ideas. For instance, he said that because paranoia tends to peak around age 35, the bomber, 16 years after his first bomb, would now be in his 50s. The profile proved dead on, as it led police right to Metesky, who was arrested in January 1957 and confessed immediately. Today, We aren't seeing actual psychiatrists or psychologists being called in as an impartial third party to make an unbiased assessment. We're seeing frontline Leos being trained to hate and distrust Muslims, and by default anyone who looks Muslim, like Sikhs. This is due to the turban. A turban is used as a head covering by many cultures in Africa. Only the high officials in Islam wear turbans and Hindu priests wear turbans as well. Identifying people wearing a turban as a terrorist and making them a target of hatred is completely and morally wrong. In 2010 at Broward College in Davie, Florida, about 60 police officers and other frontline Leos gathered in a lecture hall for a course on combating terrorism in the Sunshine State. The instructor, Sam Karoba, described how he would teach his audience the fundamentals of Islam. "We constantly hear statements," Karoba began, "that Islam is a religion of peace, and we constantly hear of jihadists who are trying to kill as many non-Muslims as they can." Karoba's course would establish for his students that one of these narratives speaks to a deep truth about Islam, and the other is a calculated lie. In this class Karoba said, "Would Islam be tolerated if everyone knew its true message?" He then asked the class, "From a Muslim perspective, do you want non-Muslims to know the truth about Islam?" "No," came the audience reply. "So what do Muslims do?" Karoba demanded. "Lie." Karoba strode forward to the front of the room. "Islam is a highly violent radical religion that mandates that all of the earth must be Muslim." Karoba then asked, "You remember the Alligator Alley incident?" He was referring to the events of September 13, 2002, when 3 Middle Eastern men at a Shoney's restaurant in Calhoun, Georgia were overheard talking about bringing it down to Miami. A nearby diner became alarmed, contacted the Georgia Highway Patrol. In what became a terrorist scare with national coverage, the police pulled the 3 men over on Alligator Alley, the long section of Interstate 75 that cuts west across Florida. For 13 hours, the police combed the vehicle for explosives, finding zero evidence of anything terrorist or criminally related. Karoba projected a picture of Haymans, one of the arrested men, onto the screen. "The first thing is facial hair," Karoba said. "Do you see how the mustache is trimmed, and the beard is in a cone shape? It is very common to have this beard, and the mustache will always be the same, just like Muhammad. There is only one problem with the Alligator Alley case, a problem Karoba never mentioned to the class. The incident was a false alarm. The terrorists turned out to be medical students on their way to a conference in Miami. They were unquestionably innocent. After 13 hours of interrogation, the police released them with a "my bad" and a pat on the ass." Karoba, however, taught the class that Haymans was a textbook case of Islamic fanaticism. So, we have one question about this type of teaching. Can we hire actual experts instead, people like Karoba? He had no professional experience in law enforcement, no academic training in terrorism or national security, and is not a Muslim. Karoba is a Jordanian-born Christian that was able to turn his place of birth into a selling and talking point. When Alternate.org asked the dean of the Institute of Public Safety why she recruited Karoba to teach there, her answer was that Karoba put the flavor of Middle Eastern culture into it. Karoba is an especially colorful character, but he is in some ways typical of the kinds of people who have migrated into the police counterterrorism training business. Many have limited background in U.S. counterterrorism and domestic law enforcement, with little patience for the rules and conventions that govern both fields. So, just a quick recap: objectively, police are being trained to fear every interaction with a citizen, regardless of their innocence or guilt, on the false premise that their job is one of the most dangerous professions that an individual can have. They are also being trained, for the lack of a better term, to steal from the average American. They are being trained with immoral instructions on how to profile. This information alone leads to even more questions about why and how this is happening. Especially since it is safer to be an officer now than ever before since the 1900s. Another piece of grammar that we need to address is the philosophy behind police. We can start with the cliched motto, to protect and serve. It's a nice slogan, but what does it really mean? Protect comes directly from late Latin protectionem, nominative protectio, a covering over, noun of action from protegere protect, cover in front, from pro in front plus tegere to cover. Now things get interesting with serve. Serve comes from Latin servire, be a servant, be in service, be enslaved, figuratively be devoted, be governed by, comply with, conform, flatter, originally be a slave, related to serve a slave. So the phrase, to protect and serve can be said to mean, to stand in front to provide cover and to be a servant, or slave. The question we need to ask now is, to stand and cover whom and to be a servant or slave to who? Have they become the shields and slaves for the corrupt? We will end this part of the article with a reiteration. We do not hate police, but just like anyone who is in a position of authority or entrusted to make snap decisions about people's safety, they must be held to a higher standard. Right now as it stands, their ethical bar is set to a lower standard than it is for us. In part 2 of this article we'll attack the logic, or lack thereof, behind militarization and the rise of police brutality. 111111111 rating 4.67, 3 votes. Individual. Adjective, early 15c, one and indivisible, with reference to the Trinity, from medieval Latin individualis, from Latin individuus indivisible, from in not, opposite of, see in, 1, plus dividus divisible, from dividere divide, see divide. Not common before c. 1600 and the 15c. Usage might be isolated. Sense of single, separate is 1610s, meaning intended for one person is from 1889. N, single object or thing, c. 1600, from individual, adjective. Colloquial sense of person is attested from 1742. Latin individuum meant an atom, indivisible particle. In Middle English individuum was used in sense of individual member of a species from early 15c. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Government. N, late 14c, act of governing or ruling, 1550s, system by which a thing is governed, especially a state, from Old French gouvernement control, direction, administration, modern French gouvernement, from governor to govern, see govern. Meaning governing power in a given place is from 1702. Compare governance. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Anarchist. Anarchist, N. 1670s, one who denies the validity of ruling power, see anarchy plus ist. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Rhetoric. N, early 14c, from Old French rhetoric, from Latin rhetorus, from Greek rhetoric techne art of an orator, from reader, genitive rheteros, speaker, orator, teacher of rhetoric, related to rhesus speech, rima word, phrase, verb, literally that which is spoken, from pi asterisk wre tor dash, from root asterisk were, 3, to speak, cognates, Old English word, Latin verbum, Greek irine to say, see verb. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Religion. Religion, N. c. 1200, state of life bound by monastic vows, also conduct indicating a belief in a divine power, from Anglo-French religion, 11c, Old French religion piety, devotion, religious community, and directly from Latin religionum, nominative religio, respect for what is sacred, reverence for the gods, conscientiousness, sense of right, moral obligation, fear of the gods, divine service, religious observance, a religion, a faith, a mode of worship, cult, sanctity, holiness, in late Latin. Monastic life, 5c. According to Cicero, derived from religere, go through again, in reading or in thought, from re again, see re, plus legere read, see lecture, n. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Grammar. N, late 14c, Latin grammar, Rules of Latin, from Old French grammaire grammar, learning, especially Latin and philology, also, magic, incantation, spells, mumbo-jumbo, 12c, modern French grammaire, an irregular semi-popular adoption OED of Latin grammatica grammar, philology, perhaps via an unrecorded medieval Latin form *grammaria. The classical Latin word is from Greek grammatike, techne, art, of letters, referring both to philology and to literature in the broadest sense, fem. Of grammaticos, adjective, pertaining to or versed in letters or learning, from gramma letter, see gram. An Old English gloss of it was staffgreeft, see staff, n. A much broader word in Latin and Greek, restriction of the meaning to systematic account of the rules and usages of language is a post-classical development. Until 16c. Limited to Latin, in reference to English usage by late 16c, thence rules of a language to which speakers and writers must conform, 1580s. Meaning a treatise on grammar is from 1520s. For the magic sense, compare grammari. The sense evolution is characteristic of the Dark Ages, learning in general, knowledge peculiar to the learned classes, which included astrology and magic, hence the secondary meaning of occult knowledge, late 15c in English, which evolved in Scottish into glamour, qv. A grammar school, late 14c, originally was a school for learning Latin, which was begun by memorizing the grammar. In U.S., 1842, the term was put to use in the graded system for a school between primary and secondary where English grammar is one of the subjects taught. The word is attested earlier in surnames, late 12c, such as Robertus Grammaticus, Richard Le Grammari, whence the modern surname grammar. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Country. N. An area of land that is controlled by its own government. Cited from, Merriam-Webster. Mid-13c, district, native land, from Old French country, from Vulgar Latin terra, contrata, land, lying opposite, or, land, spread before one, from Latin contra opposite, against, see contra. Sense narrowed 1520s to rural areas, as opposed to cities. Replaced Old English land. As an adjective from late 14c. First record of country and western music style is from 1942. Country club first recorded 1886. Country mile a long way is from 1915, American English. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Statism. Statism, n. C 1600, in reference to church-state matters, 1880 as the art of government, 1919 as the modern political opposite of individualism, from state, n, plus ism. Society. Society, n. 1530s, companionship, friendly association with others, from Old French société company, 12c, modern French société, from Latin societatem, nominative societas, fellowship, association, alliance, union, community, from socius companion, see social, adjective. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Lecture. Lecture, n. C 1300, written works, literature, late 14c, learning from books, from medieval Latin lectura a reading, from Latin lectus, past participle of leger to read, originally to gather, collect, pick out, choose, compare election, from pi asterisk leg, 1, to pick together, gather, collect, source also of Greek legein to say, tell, speak, declare, to count, originally, in Homer, to pick out, select, collect, enumerate, lexis speech, diction, logos word, speech, thought, account. Latin lignum wood, firewood, literally that which is gathered, Albanian mb to collect, harvest, Gothic listen to collect, harvest, Lithuanian lsti to pick, eat picking, Hittite less zi to pick, gather. To read is, perhaps, etymologically, to pick out words. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Logical. Logical, adjective. Early 15c, based on reason, according to the principles of logic, from logic plus al, 1. Meaning pertaining to logic is c. 1500. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Fallacy. Fallacy, n. Late 15c, deception, false statement, from Latin fallacia deception, deceit, trick, artifice, noun of quality from fallax, genitive fallacis, deceptive, from fallere deceive, see fail, v. Specific sense in logic, false syllogism, invalid argumentation, dates from 1550s. An earlier form was fallis, c. 1300, from Old French fallis. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Federal. Federal, adjective. 1640s, as a theological term, in reference to covenants between God and man, from French federal, an adjective formed from Latin foedus, genitive foederis, covenant, league, treaty, alliance, from pi asterisk poides dash, from root asterisk bide to trust, which also is the source of Latin fides faith, see faith. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Common. Adjective, c. 1300, belonging to all, general, from Old French common common, general, free, open, public, 9c, modern French commune, from Latin communis in common, public, shared by all or many, general, not specific, familiar, not pretentious. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Public. Public, adjective. Late 14c, open to general observation, from Old French public, c. 1300, and directly from Latin publicus of the people, of the state, done for the state, also common, general, public, ordinary, vulgar, and as a noun, a commonwealth, public property, altered, probably by influence of Latin pubes adult population, adult, from Old Latin populus pertaining to the people, from populus people, see people, n. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Belief. Belief, n. Late 12c, believe, replacing Old English gileapha belief, faith, from West Germanic asterisk galabon to hold dear, esteem, trust, source also of Old Saxon gelobo, Middle Dutch gelov, Old High German gelabo, German glaube, from asterisk galob dear, esteemed, from intensive prefix asterisk ga plus asterisk lub to care, desire, like, love, see love, v. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Logic. N. Mid-14c, branch of philosophy that treats of forms of thinking, from Old French logic, 13c, from Latin, ars, logica, from Greek logike, techne, reasoning, art, from fem. Of logikos pertaining to speaking or reasoning, from logos reason, idea, word, see logos. Meaning logical argumentation is from c. 1600. Cited from, Online Etymology Dictionary. Truth. N. The truth, the real facts about something, the things that are true. The quality or state of being true. A statement or idea that is true or accepted as true. Cited from, Merriam-Webster. Human. Adjective, mid-15c, humane, humane, from Old French humane, humane, adjective, of or belonging to man, 12c, from Latin humanus of man, human, also humane, philanthropic, kind, gentle, polite, learned, refined, civilized, probably related to homo, genitive hominis, man, see homunculus, and to humus earth, on notion of earthly beings, as opposed to the gods, compare Hebrew Adam man, from etymography. Cited from Online Etymology Dictionary. Force. N. C 1300, physical strength, from Old French force, strength, courage, fortitude, violence, power, compulsion. 12c, from Vulgar Latin *fortia, source also of Old Spanish forzo, Spanish fuerza, Italian forza, noun use of neuter plural of Latin fortis strong, mighty, firm, steadfast, brave, bold, see fort. Meanings: power to convince the mind and power exerted against will or consent are from mid-14c. Meaning: body of armed men, a military organization first recorded late 14c. Also in Old French. Physics sense is from 1660s, force field attested by 1920. Related, forces. V. C 1300, forcen, also forcen, exert force upon, an adversary, from Old French forcer conquer by violence, from force strength, power, compulsion, see force, n. From early 14c. As to violate, a woman, to rape. From c 1400 as compel by force, constrain, someone to do something, dot. Meaning bring about by unusual effort is from 1550s. Card playing sense is from 1746, whist. Related, forced, forcing. Cited from Online Etymology Dictionary. Right. N. Old English writ, West Saxon, Kentish, ret, Anglian, that which is morally right, duty, obligation, also rule of conduct, law of a land, also what someone deserves, a just claim, what is due, correctness, truth, a legal entitlement, a privilege, from the root of right, adjective 1. Meaning the right, as opposed to the left, is from mid-13c, political use from 1825. From early 14c. As a right action, a good deed. Meaning a blow with the right fist is from 1898. The phrase to rights at once, straightway is 1660s, from sense in a proper manner, Middle English. Cited from Online Etymology Dictionary. For a greater explanation please see Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. State. Political organization of a country, supreme civil power, government, c 1300, from special use of state, n.1, this sense grew out of the meaning condition of a country with regard to government, prosperity, etc., late 13c, from Latin phrases such as status rei publici condition, or existence, of the republic. Cited from Online Etymology Dictionary. Free. Old English frio free, exempt from, not in bondage, acting of one's own will, also noble, joyful, from Proto-Germanic *frisia beloved, not in bondage. Meaning clear of obstruction is from mid-13c, sense of unrestrained in movement is from c 1300. Cited from Online Etymology Dictionary. Will. N. Old English will a mind, determination, purpose, desire, wish, request, joy, delight. Cited from Online Etymology Dictionary.
Hey Charlotte County, this is Charlotte County COPWATCH, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago, and so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County COPWATCH with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me, and I'm sick of it. So I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if some, if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave a let's say actually yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen, but anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it. 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, if I got some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.